So the scholarship was a fully funded one. So they were going to pay the fees of, I think, 18,000 a year. And every year they are going to give you, like every month, you get a scholarship of 1,000 euros. But then there is the sweet part. So for example, in my first year when I was arriving in France, if you had to move from a third country, like a different country aside Europe, and so they factor in that you do your visa application process, you pick you have to pay for your tickets and prepare before you even come to Europe. So they put all that as one, plus your first stipend, which is 5,000 euros. So when I came to France in September 2023, the money that I saw in my account was 5,000 euros. And I
Wow.
was all over the place.
I can imagine.
It's quite a juicy one. And
Yeah.
see, I remember during the graduation in
Mm,
my master's, I was selected to give an interview of how I
mm,
found the whole master's. And
mm.
see, the word that I said, the last sentence I said was that it has been life changing. Like the videos are on YouTube and all, but I told them that this has been a life changing opportunity for me because the people that I have seen, the people that I have worked with, the opportunities that I have had.
Yeah.
See, this would not have been possible without that master's. And it has opened other opportunities for me that now I'm even in, like the current position that I am in. It is even through that master's. So it has been life changing for me. And that is why I encourage anyone who wants to really come abroad, just find the right thing for you, what you are really passionate about, what you really want to do, and you're gonna love it. So for me, my experience, nothing short but been lovely and amazing.
Okay, so I welcome you to another episode of the Study Abroad Unfiltered with Mana Inspire. I hope the previous episodes have been of great benefit to you. So today I have another interesting episode for you. My guest has a very vast experience when it comes to the study abroad journey, and we want to delve into the details of her journey from where she began to where she is now. So I don't want to waste my time talking. I'll call upon my guest to introduce herself so that we get into the details of her study abroad journey. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Just a little bit about myself. Elizabeth, I'm a Ghanaian, and I'm currently a student, a PhD student. But yeah, so probably when we talk more, we might just get to
Definitely.
know more about me. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I just
Okay.
my hobbies. I just like to cook, sometimes go for
Okay.
hiking and also traveling. Yeah.
Okay. Very well. Right. So let's get to business. Elizabeth, take us back to Ghana. Just your uni days in Ghana. Did you do your bachelor's in Ghana?
Yes, I did. I did my bachelor's in KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
All right.
So I was there for 4 years and I did my bachelor's in food science and technology.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the College of Science. But then throughout the master's, it was more about studying food, but also I did take up some leadership roles, not only academic roles, but also in church and all. So religious roles. Yeah.
That's impressive. So doing bachelor's in Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, tech, studying food science.
Yeah.
What then motivated you to study abroad?
Okay. Right. So back in KNST, we all have dreams and hopes. And for me, one of it was to study abroad because you have like the knowledge and everything back home, like in tech. They give you the knowledge and the theory aspect, but the whole idea was to come abroad and also have this kind of new experience and also try and broaden my scope. For example, when I came abroad here, there were so many instruments and so many equipment and things that we just heard of it back in my bachelor's. But then when you come here, you have hands-on experience. You do it yourself. You get to experience it. And it's so nice. But it's been something that has been my passion of trying to come abroad and also try to have more experience, as in an international experience.
Okay, that's quite impressive. So you had the passion and you were motivated to broaden your scope and have an experience of education abroad, what country did you decide on to pursue that dream?
That's a very interesting question. So I'm just going to chip this in. I quite remember in my third year in tech, there's this collaboration between my department, which is the Food Science and Technology department, and a university in France, where you do 3 years in Ghana, then you do 2 years in France. The university is Isalil. So you do 2 years in France, and in the end, you are getting both master's and a bachelor's, but in 5 years. So it was like a very good opportunity. I applied for it and I was accepted. But the thing is that I was just given the 1 year waiver fee. So for example, if I had to go to France, my first year of the master's, the tuition will be waived off. But the next year I had to pay for it. So I quite remember my supervisor at that time just called me and she's like, Liz, you're a bright student. Don't be too pressured because you want to just go abroad and study. Just take your time. After school, you might have so many opportunities. By then, you have your degree certificate. So then any country at all that you love to go to, you get the opportunity, you will go to. So from there, France has already been on my mind. Yeah, I didn't know how to speak that much fluent French, but I was like, okay, why not try France? And fortunately, I had France as so when I was applying for the masters, I did apply to just 2 masters, and that was the one that I had was I had to start in France. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So was it the same school that your department was affiliated to, or it was a different school?
Yeah, it's a different school altogether. And in the France system, they have like levels of, even if you're in the university, there's something called the Grand École, which is like very high university. So like that's the one that I got during my master's. And in the end, like Isalil is a good school, but in the end, you have this opportunity, you have more exposure and more experience. So it was worth the wait, I'll say.
Okay, very well. So a lot of people have problems when it comes to identifying some of these schools, getting the right information. I don't know if it is because they don't research well or they are not privy to where to get that information to. So can you walk us through how you found the school, the kind of effort you had to put in before you came across that information and getting the right school that fits your master's degree dream?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So I'll say that there are so many things available to us that sometimes we might not even know. So one of it is LinkedIn. See, I know people say that LinkedIn is exaggerated and all, but when you take your time and you go through, you do it the right way, you're going to get something meaningful out of it. So first off, I first searched online. I just said, like, you put in online, it's a master's program, and I chanced on this Erasmus Mundus. Initially, I didn't know what it was really about, so I had to do more search on what it was. So I realized that, so when you have that scholarship, you can study in at least 3 different European universities. So I was like, wow, that's amazing. So then I started shifting my focus more on Erasmus. So you need to know what you want. So from that moment when I saw the Erasmus, I knew that this is something that I would like to do, get that cultural experience and exposure. I mean, studying in different countries, it's going to give you so much experience. Yeah, so that was the first step. Then when you go, I went to the Erasmus Mundus website and I tried to check the catalog. So with that, you have they give you so many programs that they are offering. And I tried to see the one that is related to food. So even with the food, I had to see the countries that I'll be studying in. What are some of the courses that I'll be doing? So you have to take your time. So let's say I'm doing something related to cybercrime. If you get something, you might get about 2, 3 options, but you have to go through each of them to see whether the courses they are offering you will be interested in or it's going to help you in your future career. So that was the first step. The next step was LinkedIn. As I mentioned earlier, I tried to search for people who had done this particular program. And fortunately for me, I had like Ghanaians that were from my department in KUST that had
Wow.
been on the program like years ago.
Okay.
Fortunately for me, the year that I was applying, there was a Ghanaian lady. She was from Biochem, from Tech,
Okay.
who was in the program. So she was about to graduate. So I had to speak to her. I told her that these are the requirements that they needed for the particular program I was offering. Could she give me advice? So it was from LinkedIn, then we moved to like normal WhatsApp. She gave me her number.
Okay.
So we were communicating. So I had to write this professional development document that I had to give to them to show them what I wanted to do. So she guided me. She gave me lots of information because the thing is she has been through the process. She knows
Yeah.
how it's like. So she gives you so much advice and guidance. And in the end, it was worth it because in the end, I was able to get the scholarship. When I got there, she was already in France. She helped me to settle in so well.
Wow.
So we have so many opportunities. Maybe yours could not be linked. And with the LinkedIn, I just want to chip in that some people just go to your LinkedIn to just say, hi, I want to do this, and that's it. It starts from somewhere. Try to build up. You don't just send a message. You go in like after 3-4 months when you need something from the person, you're like, you go back. It's something that you build. It's a connection that you are building. So for example, you could just say, oh, if you are in for a like 10 minutes break, we could just chat over Skype. I don't know if it's still there, but you can just have a coffee, but it's just online. It's just a chit chat. You just tell the person about yourself, what you are interested in doing. And that notwithstanding, people might not respond or just give you feedback. But you just take the risk. Try to build that connection. Don't just text the person, go and come back again. No one is going to mind you. Just make sure you build that connection with the person. Yeah, so that's it.
Very well.
And yeah, maybe just try to go to this. Let's say for you, it's not Erasmus Mundus. You just want this particular school. Go to the school website. Try and read. I know sometimes reading is so difficult. Try and read. There are some things that you might miss out on if you don't read what's on the website, what they are offering, how that tailors or how that suits you and your career goals.
Okay, thank you for that. That is quite a very good advice and experience that you have there. So, can you tell us some of the requirements that the scholarship needed for you to be selected?
All right. Thank you very much. So, like in answering this, I'm just going to make it also quite general. So, it's about preparing yourself. If you know that you want to like go abroad, study abroad, you have to prepare yourself. You can't tell me that you want to go abroad as I speak to you now. You don't even have a passport. You have to prepare yourself. Like you have to get one of the things to get is your passport. Another thing is your CV. I'll just speak briefly about the CV. See, get an updated CV. And one thing people do is that when they see the opportunity online, they just change the name, either the name of the school or the person, and they just forward the CV. It's the same as the motivation letter. But that's the mistake so many people do. It's about the quantity, not the quality. You don't tell me that you have applied to 100 universities and you are not getting any response. Sit down, get time, and have a quality CV and a motivation letter and apply that. I quite remember my friend told me that he wanted to apply to the US. So with that, you need to like do a cold email to the professors or your supervisors. And he told me that he had written so many of them, but he never got a response. The only response he got from one of the professors was to tell him that that's not his name. So he just had the message and he just copy and pasted and he sent it. And he did not change the professor's name. And that could really block your chances. So if you are making your CV and your motivation, make sure that it's tailored to suit whatever requirement that the scholarship or that the school even needs. So
Okay.
that's one thing. Another thing is your recommendation letter.
Mm.
Always have it would be nice to have a current motivation letter. You can't be applying for a school in 2026 and you have like 2015, 2016. It's not the best. Try
Yeah.
and have a current one. So with this, you could speak to your supervisor, for example, from your university, and just tell them that you are trying to apply for opportunities abroad and you might not want to contact them all the time. Will it be possible for you to change the date, not the content, the date?
Mm-hmm.
So the more you apply, because you do not want to be bothering them and pestering them for
Yeah.
recommendations all the time. So you could, when you've built that relationship, you could just speak to them and tell them, oh, is it possible to just change the date so I could be using that for further applications? And if you have built that relationship and they trust you enough, they're not going to say no. Like they're going to say yes to you. So I'll say that mostly it's the recommendation letter. And for the recommendation for my application, I had to just put in the email of
Okay.
my supervisors, like back from tech. And the school is going to directly contact them. So there are two ways. It's either you have the recommendation letter written for you and you use that whilst you apply, or you send them the email of the person recommending you and they're going to contact the person directly. So these are the things that I'll say that you try and prepare before even you start the application process.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe later I'll just talk briefly about how
Some
to
will come
make
up.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to find out. A lot of people want to study abroad, but then you know how expensive the fees can be sometimes. So people really want the scholarship route. When they find out that this I can go with scholarship, they are happy. Like because it will save you a lot. Was your scholarship based on merit? Did you have to have a certain level of GPA or a certain level of class before you were selected for the scholarship? Or if there was, can you tell us the minimum GPA that was required if it was stated?
All right. Thank you very much. This is quite a dicey one, but I'm going to speak from my point of view or from my perspective. So from my experience, for the scholarship I had, I think you had to be a first class student.
Okay.
Yeah. So in tech, it was more it's different from the GPA. I don't know if I'm confusing it, but there's one with it was just 70. When you have 70 and above, that's a first class. So mostly they just use the first class. But that notwithstanding, I'm not saying that if you're not first class, you should not apply. Sometimes it's about the experience you have. So for example, if you are able to apply and you apply with a second class and you are called for the interview, it's on the interview that you have to show to them
Prove
that,
yourself.
yeah, maybe I might not have a first class, but I want to prove to you that this is something that I really want to do, and I hope to make a change, hope to make an impact when I'm being accepted on this scholarship. So, and with the interview, I'll say that, so when you are able to pass through all the stages and you are selected, congratulations to you. On the interview, just try to prove yourself. Let them know some extracurricular activities you've been doing. Sometimes people might think that it's just academic. If I show you my motivation that I wrote for my scholarship, sometimes I just look back and I'm like, oh my God. For example, in my motivation, I put in the academic part. Then just the last paragraph before I end the motivation, I put that I am someone who is multicultural. I love to learn about other cultures. For example, when I was little, my dad used to take me to this Chinese restaurant back in Ghana. So this is something, even though you've put in the academic part, they want to see, because you're going to be in the class. For my scholarship, I was in a class with people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So they want to see if you can be able to cope and live with them.
Fit in, yeah.
Exactly, because they are all from different cultural backgrounds. So there might be someone who is intellectually like the person is brilliant, the person is amazing and good. But then when it comes to human relationship, there's nothing
Very
to
good.
prove that you can really you are willing to learn other people's culture. So this is something that I just chip in just for them to know that I am multicultural. So they look at different things. So some people might look at academic, but from my perspective, from my experience, I believe that they don't just look at the academic. They look at other aspects. And for example, if you've had a couple of experience, let's say with people with leadership, when you're a leader, you have so many human relationships.
Yeah.
So they can also based on that to also pick you. So I'll say that if you are not up to the first class, don't
Mm.
let that be like a blockade or a
Disappointing. Yeah.
barrier. Yeah. You just apply and just let them know so you check the requirement.
Mm.
This is the requirement the scholarship wants. Someone who is brilliant, who is able to learn other people's culture. So they put it there in the website, like what the scholarship wants, and
Okay.
you tailor it to suit what they want. And I think you should be good to go. So don't be disappointed or don't be less confident in yourself if you don't have the grade that they want. They might pick you based on other things as well.
Other things.
Yeah.
Very well. Very well. And also, just a quick one. Was it for specific programs, or there were plethora of programs that one could choose from in your case? I know you applied through the food science
Mm-hmm.
program, but then when you were doing the application, did you by any chance realize, or per your experience, have you seen that they accept other backgrounds?
Yeah, they do. Because we had people, for example, so the full course is food innovation and product design.
Okay.
But we had people from chemical engineering, biotechnology, and we were all in the same class. So
Mm.
it's not only food science. Some people just you have this chemical engineering, they do a bit of the food in it. So I think it should not only be just that they do something that is a bit related to food, but it's not, I'll say that they, they're not going to say that probably. But for example, if you have someone who is doing like computer science and something like food science, it's a bit different. But when you have something like biotechnology or something engineering, biochemical engineering, yeah, it's so sometimes they do check, for example, in your bachelor's, what were some of the courses? That's why they take your transcript. What are some of the courses you did throughout your master's? And they see if it's quite related to what you're going to do, and they're going to pick you based on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well. So, what year are we talking about?
So that's 2023.
2023. Okay.
2023, yeah.
Okay. Very well. And you mentioned that the scholarship had in it the flexibility to study in about 3 different countries, right? But then your first spot or your first destination was France, right?
Yes, yes.
First of all, tell us what the scholarship entails. Like, was it only tuition? Were you given stipends? Were you accommodation free? Was it a fully funded scholarship?
Okay. Thank you very much. So the scholarship was a fully funded one. So they were going to pay the fees of, I think, 18,000 a year. And every year they are going to give you, like every month, you get a scholarship of 1,000 euros. But then there is the sweet part. So for example, in my first year when I was arriving in France, if you had to move from a third country, like a different country aside Europe, and so they factor in that you do your visa application process, you pick you have to pay for your tickets and prepare before you even come to Europe. So they put all that as one, plus your first stipend, which is 5,000 euros. So when I came to France in September 2023, the money that I saw in my account was 5,000 euros. And I
Wow.
was all over the place.
I can
Yeah,
imagine.
it's quite a juicy one. And
Yeah.
then in your second year, because I was already in Europe, but then so I started in France, I moved to Ireland, then I later went to Sweden. So it's done yearly. So after my first year, my second year is moving to Sweden. So when you're moving to a different country again to start your second year, they give you an amount of money plus your stipend, and that was 3,000 euros. That is because I'm not coming from Ghana again. I'm already in Europe and I'm just moving to a different country. So it's like relocation allowance kind of, because now I have to pick all my stuff from Ireland, move all the way back to Sweden, start a new life there and all that. So they give you 2,000 euros for the allowance, then your monthly stipend, which is 1,000 euros, which is 3,000 euros. So that was okay. It was quite good. So,
And was accommodation covered? Were you paying accommodation out of your stipends or?
not really. So the thing is, you are giving 1,000 euros a month.
Uh-huh.
Whatever thing that you do with the 1,000 euros, that is up to you. You are paying accommodation out of the 1,000 euros. Your cost of living, transportation, internet, everything is in the 1,000 euros. But fortunately for us, in the first year in Paris, the university had its own accommodation. So as a student, you get it a bit cheaper because in Paris, Jesus, it's so expensive
Yeah.
with the accommodation.
Yeah. It's so
It's
expensive.
so expensive. So, but then when you're in a student accommodation, it's quite cheaper. It wasn't that cheap. We were paying about 400. For me, I was in a room. It was just a single room and a shared bathroom, shared kitchen, and I was paying about 400 euros, 470 euros, I think. But then in Ireland, the accommodation is crazy, and there was no university accommodation, and I was paying about 820 euros a month. So just imagine taking 1,000 euros a month and paying just the rent of 820 euros. You're just left with 180 euros. So you would then have to kind of save from the first semester in Paris and try and be spending that in, and it was even quite difficult. It's very difficult to get that accommodation in Ireland. Then moving to the Swedish part, there was accommodation provided by the university. So it's Lund University in Sweden, and there was accommodation provided. So, and it was one of the best accommodations.
Wow.
Like it's an ensuite room. So there's your bathroom and everything. I had the sink and the microwave, everything in the room.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it
The
was
joy.
amazing and lovely. And the spot I had was like in the city center. So it was quite good. So like I'm just saying that everything you do is from the 1,000 euros and you have to decide what to allocate. Like you decide what you use the money for.
Okay. So you have 3 different country experience. France, Sweden, Ireland. France was your first spot. Tell us about France. When you first got there, not being able to speak French.
Yeah.
How did you cope? Because it's a challenge for a lot of students. And another thing is that a lot of students think that because France is a French-speaking country, they will not find a lot of English taught programs in France. So a lot of them do not even look there when it comes to study abroad. And people also have that perception that it will be difficult to live there because they can't speak the language. Can you use your experience to at least melt the heart of people so that it's doable?
Okay. So the thing is, I'm not going to give you sweet words.
Yes.
But it was not easy at all. But one thing is that when you set your mind to something, you're going to do it. And the fact that you are already there, it then becomes it's not easy, but it becomes a bit easy to blend in and learn the language. You know, back in Ghana, we are just taught French. You don't have anyone to speak to and you just forget about it. But here, when you are with the people, you are forced kind of to also speak the language. You go anywhere on the train station, the bus, you go to grocery shopping, everyone is speaking French. And sometimes they really want you to learn and speak the language so you can even speak in French or speak to them. One time I remember I went to Lille to visit a friend. I was like, do you speak English? And they are going to respond to you in English and say, no, I don't speak English. You know how that feels?
Yeah.
So one thing that really helped me a lot with the program that I had, we were taught French. So yeah, I was in the beginner class. We were taught basic way of like speaking to someone if you are looking for something, you're looking like you want to go somewhere, like the basic way you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
They taught us throughout our time in France. And the more you speak to people, you get new words. So you are able to blend in. Sometimes you might not, in the beginning, you might not speak the right language, like the right phrases. But for them, they do understand a bit and they are able to correct you. And that is how you are able to study and speak it better. So don't say that because it's like a French speaking country. There are so many Ghanaians there, so many people from English speaking countries that are in France now, and it's up to you to be willing to learn the language. And yes, I know most of the courses are in French, but there are courses that you might find in English. And I
Yeah.
was fortunate to have one in English.
That's impressive. So, knowing that you were on a fully funded scholarship by Erasmus, were you permitted to work, and did you work in France?
Okay, so in France, I think you are permitted to work if I'm not wrong, but the workload and the course load, it was that much that like we had quite an intensive coursework. You had to go from 9, finish at 5. We having so many projects that we were working on. And it was just within a short frame of time that you had to produce. So each and every time you're having meetings, you have assignments, and it was
Yeah.
even difficult to have time for yourself, not to talk about even trying to work on the side. Yeah, so sometimes you might get a much more flexible course where you could work. You could just do a remote work online, but just to be able to focus more on your academics. And the money that was given at that time in 2023, it wasn't so bad. We could all manage, so that was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So, all in all, how would you describe your experience in France with regards to academics, social life, and also any other thing you deem fit, like food? You understand?
Yeah.
You've already talked about accommodation, which
Yeah.
was around 400 for a student accommodation in
Yeah.
France. How much were you spending on food and basic necessities in France? Paris, for to be
All
precise.
right. So I'll say that for a month you could spend around 250 to 300 euros. It was quite different in my case because when I went there, I joined this Ghanaian community, and I found like before I even came to France, I was introduced to like a distant aunt who stays in France. So, and she also works in a supermarket in France. Every week, I was having groceries at my fingertips. So I was not really shopping, doing lots of shopping with my money and all that. So, but on an average, between 250 to 300 should be fine for grocery shopping if you're not someone who really loves to spend. But yeah, my experience there was lovely. It was amazing. Just that the course work, like it was so much that at a point I really, it really got to me.
Yeah.
And it might be different it might be different for
Uh-huh.
everybody because for
Uh-huh.
me,
Uh-huh.
I finished my bachelor's in 2020. So you could imagine I had this 3-year gap where I was trying to do my own business, build a family business before I applied to do the master's.
Uh-huh.
So my brain has been like dead like 3 years
Yeah,
before,
I can imagine
and
that.
I just come to a new country, new culture,
Uh,
everything
uh,
new, and the workload is too much to bear. So at a point, I'm not gonna lie to you, it
that
got
was tough.
really difficult, yeah, for me. But then
Wow.
I came to Ireland and we were going to classes like twice a week. My God, it was amazing. It was so lovely. It was quite the opposite of France. So it made me really enjoy Ireland like a lot because I think maximum is like 3 days and you have 4 days. You had just 4 days off. And I was just
Yeah.
going. Then I started going to France more often just to relax and come back again the
Mm,
following week. So I would
okay.
say that it's really a lovely experience.
All right. All right. So you, how many months or years did you spend in each of these countries? And was it tied directly to the number of years you're supposed to complete the master's?
Yes, it was. So for the whole scholarship program, it's 2 years.
Okay.
And in 2 years, you spend each semester in each country. So, for example, I had from October to mid-January, I was in Paris. Then from
Okay.
January to May, the end of May, that was the Ireland, the Ireland semester.
Okay.
Fortunately for me, I applied for an internship in where I'm doing. I applied for an internship in Chagas. That was in Dublin at that time. And I was fortunate to have the internship for 3 months. And I did that internship, so it made me have 8 months in Ireland. And then I moved to Sweden for 1 year. So
Okay.
then it was during my 1 year that I applied for other opportunities to get a PhD.
Okay. We will come to the PhD conversation
Yeah.
shortly. But then, so I presume that you spent quite a number of months in Ireland more than in France.
Yes, I did.
Comparatively, how would you describe your experience in Ireland?
See, I just don't want to be biased, but I loved Ireland. Yeah,
Feel free, come on.
see some people say the weather is so bad here, but
As for the weather,
it's
I might
a
side with
topic for
them.
another day.
Yes, I might side with them in a way.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like an island just somewhere there. Generally, I loved Ireland because then you're coming from a francophone country and you come here and everyone is speaking English. See, I bet you the English they speak is English, but it will take you some time to be able to understand their English. It took me about 2 to 3 months to understand. I quite remember sometime I was speaking to my landlord and like he's speaking English, he's speaking English,
Yeah.
but it was so difficult to understand. I kept on saying, sorry, could you please repeat what you said? So, we have levels of accents and
Yeah.
it's a bit difficult to understand. But then when you blend in and you're able to understand them, that's it. The fact that you are going to the supermarket, you don't need to be translating anything on your phone and you can just speak freely. My
That's
God,
what
it's
we live in.
amazing. The only downside is that I was in the capital city, which is Dublin, and it was very expensive. But aside that, and I quite remember it was during that period in Ireland, there was a competition for my program and I won the award. So it was amazing.
Great.
Like it's
Great.
something that I love the more. So
Yeah.
I really loved Ireland and especially with my internship that I had at Chagas. That was the 3 months. It was lovely and amazing. And I really loved I
Great.
learned so much things and I was fortunate to work with a supervisor that was also very kind and very nice.
Great. Great. Then you moved to Sweden.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that the accommodation was splendid. It was
Yeah, it's so
great.
nice. See, sometimes we all see the nice aspect, but we do not see the down aspect. But I'll just chip
Yeah.
this in. I remember, for my program, you have opportunity to study in different countries. The first year, which you go to Paris and in Dublin and Ireland, it's constant for everyone. But after your first year, you can choose between Italy, you go to Napoli, or you choose Sweden, you go to Lund University, or you choose back to France. So you had 3 options. For me, okay, so you have, after your first year, you can choose between these 3 countries. And before you apply for the scholarship, you choose the country you want to do your second year.
Okay.
For me, I chose Italy because I wanted to do healthy food design. But fortunately for me, fortunately or unfortunately, during the re-interview, based on what you say, because they give you the opportunity after 1 year in the course, people might change their mind. Maybe you might pick up on something that you might like, oh, I just want to change. I no more want to go to Italy and all. So I applied, we did a re-interview, and in the end, I was put to Sweden. And I was in Ireland at that time where I had to process my visa. So some people are fortunate. I know a guy who had an Erasmus and he started from Sweden. They gave him 2 years of the Schengen visa. So then throughout the 2 years of your course, wherever you want to go to, it's so easy. But for me, they give us, for our course, they just give you the first 1 year.
Yeah.
Then you have to reapply for the last year. So I was in Ireland. I had applied for my IRB, which is my residence permit in Ireland. And I did not have my IRB card because it was taking some time. And I needed to apply for my Swedish residence permit at that time. I didn't have my card, so it was very difficult. Like in the end, it was a bit complicated. But finally, in the end, everything got sorted out. And getting an accommodation, you had to log in into the Lund University accommodation website, try to find a place, and you are allocated. It's like random allocation. Though I was on priority, it's just random allocation. And I was not, it's just like a week till I go to Sweden was when I had accommodation. So you can imagine how stressed
the pressure
I
and the
was
stress and everything.
with the visa and accommodation. But it was worth it because the accommodation that I had in Sweden, amazing. I was literally in the city, or I'll say the town center, and it was just 1 minute walk to the main train station to go to like Stockholm, to go to Norway, to go to Denmark. It was super amazing. It was super nice. So then coming back to the language barrier again. So I had to, when I got back to Sweden, since it's a different language, I had to start some Swedish classes. So when you enroll on the classes, it's free. So I had the chance to enroll on the class, and I was going for classes, combining that with my normal lectures. And also it was not as tedious, I'll say, as Paris. It was quite flexible. And everything was quite okay, quite comparable to Ireland and also in Paris. Just that you learn different cultures. Because people back there in Sweden, they are quite independent. People in Ireland are all nice. They even speak to strangers. Oh my God, they are so lovely people. Then when it's quite the opposite in Sweden, where people are quite independent. People are not really smiling to people until they know you. There is no much conversation.
I just minded
So
your
it was
business.
quite different. So yeah, exactly. That's the word. So you need to make your own space of friends, of people where you can rely on. And one thing about that was, in the Nordics, when it's winter time, it gets so dark very early, and there was a lot of depression at that point. So for me, I even had to take classes where they teach you like what the winter is about, how your body is going to respond to it, what are some of the things to do to be able to overcome this winter depression and all. So, and also with the cold in the north, like Northern Europe, it's a bit cold.
Yeah.
And I'll say that with the cold that I experienced in Ireland, my God, it's almost the same thing. Yes, yeah. The thing is that in Ireland, the cold is quite all year round,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, even in summer, it's still cold. But back in Sweden, like the weather is like if it's summer, it's spring. My God, it's lovely in spring, especially in Sweden. And when it's summer, it's warm enough, you can go
At
out
least, yeah.
with sleeveless and everything is so nice. But then when it's winter, it's very cold. It's snowing everywhere, But in Ireland, it's a bit all year round cold. It's not going to snow for you to see. It's going to be raining and a bit depressing. But yeah. But it's really nice when you have a bit and pieces of all of these cultures.
I can imagine.
It makes you much exposed. For example, I remember in France with the train system, when I got there first, I was almost every time missing my train. Because you go to a train station like Gare du Nord.
Yeah.
It's like one of the big train stations, and like you are everywhere. You need to read the signs just to know which platform you are going to, and with which each they have opposite directions, and you might just mess it up. But one thing is that when the fact that I learned that the hard way, it was so easy for me throughout the years, especially in all. So I had like traveled to so many other European countries. I've been to Belgium, to Germany, been so many to Norway, Denmark, but then it's literally the same. It's a similar transport system in almost all European. So then you are able to blend in, and it makes it a bit easy for you. So
Very
it was
well.
worth the experience.
Yeah. That is an impressive journey you have there. All in all, how would you describe your master's program and the experience you had with Erasmus Mundus?
See, I remember during the graduation in my master's, I was selected to give an interview of how I found the whole master's, and see the word that I said, the last sentence I said was that it has been life-changing. Like the videos are on YouTube and all, but I told them that this has been a life-changing opportunity for me, because the people that I have seen, the people that I have worked with, the opportunities that I have had. See, this would not have been possible without that master's. And it has opened other opportunities for me that now I'm even in, like the current position that I am in. It is even through that master's. So it has been life-changing for me. And that is why I encourage anyone who wants to really come abroad, just find the right thing for you, what you are really passionate about, what you really want to do, and you're going to love it. So for me, my experience, nothing short but being lovely and amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very well. What would you tell somebody who wants to explore the same journey?
Okay, so I'll say that be determined. I know for my masters, I had just applied to, I got accepted to one, and they are quite connected, so sometimes you might not even get. I had the other one, but it was a partial scholarship, so I just went with the one. I was given a full scholarship, and for the current position that I'm in, did so that was the real tax. I did so many applications, and finally one. There's gonna be one for you. So I'm gonna say that, like, don't be too hard on yourself. Determined. Just have that passion to continue, to have that passion to do the masters, and be determined that you are going to do it. And go through all the process, and I think you're going to be fine.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've heard it all. That's quite a journey and experience that I believe would help you make the right decision when it comes to your study abroad journey. We're going to draw the curtains on this, and I'm going to call it part one, because as I said earlier, my guest has very vast experience, and we are done with the masters. So in part two, I'm going to talk about her PhD journey, how she got into the PhD, and what is currently up for her. So don't forget to watch this one, share, subscribe, and let another person know that Study Abroad Unfiltered on Mana Inspire is informing people and motivating people to make the right choices and decisions. Stay tuned and watch out for part two. Thank you.
Thank you.